Good morning, sunshine, and welcome back to the sunny side. Today is going to be part 3 of my drugstore makeup series, and the brand that I'm going to be exploring is Essence Cosmetics. You might have seen Essence Cosmetics in your local grocery store or perhaps Ulta. One of the products that I have heard the most of from them is their Lash Princess Mascara. This stuff is like one of the top rated mascaras on Ulta's website. Thousands of people claim that it's amazing, so we're going to dig in and try that today. And also many other products. Pretty much everything you see on my face right now is from Essence. So, before I dig in, I just want to take a quick moment and have a heart-to-heart with y'all, because I have not done that yet. I skipped Tutorial Tuesday this week and took a personal day of reflection because I have just been, for lack of a better way of putting it, stuck in like a trauma loop. Some things that have been said and some things that I've experienced lately have taken me all the way back to junior high in my mind and high school. And I grew up in a small town in Utah, and from the time that I was really young, I have always been a delicate flower. And, as you could probably guess, not a very masculine, delicate flower. And that is not always a trait that is celebrated in someone who is born in a male body. My identity now is non-binary. My pronouns are they, them, with the occasional he. I'm not going to destroy you if you slip up, but they, them makes me feel the most seen, and I appreciate it greatly. So anyway, within the specifically cis gay portion of the LGBTQ plus community, femininity is not appreciated as more than just a bit of entertainment. You see shows like RuPaul's Drag Race, and, it makes you think perhaps like this specific part of queer culture is widely accepted and embraced. And it is, as a form of entertainment. But femmes are not just here for your entertainment. We're people who are valid sexual beings and valid intellectual, sensitive, soulful creatures that deserve to be considered and not just shunned. On these dating apps, you see all kinds of men looking for straight acting, looking for no femmes, saying things like, oh, we could be friends, but I just, I'm gay, so I don't really see myself dating someone who's girly. There's times where I can write it off and I can be okay with it, but there's been a lot of time in my life in which I have modified who I am so that I can be considered desirable. And I am not doing that anymore. But also, the commitment to not doing that anymore leaves me feeling this feeling that I've been feeling for the last week of invalidity and isolation and heartbreak. And I just keep thinking about the times when I was young and people would say things to me like, oh, it's fine if you're gay, but just don't act like a girl. Putting femininity as the worst thing that I could possibly be. And I've never wanted to run from that part of myself, but I have. I've done things to modify who I am so that I could get jobs, so that I could be taken seriously. And I just don't want to do that anymore. I don't think anyone should have to do that. So, I could ramble on about this forever. I'm not going to, but I just want you to see this part of me because, you know, I made this channel so that I could express this specific part of myself that I have battled with. And here I get to just be myself. The job that I have now, I get to go in every day and be myself. And I'm 30. And I just want to not live any more of my life for the patriarchal bullshit system that oppresses femmes. I can't do it anymore. And I invite you to dismantle that system in whatever way you feel comfortable. So, there's the introduction for today's video. I won't be crying my way through all of this, I promise. But please stick around and see how I got the look. So far, it seems to be tear-proof. So I took a swing, and this shade is definitely too dark for me. But even though this is not an Essence product, I have this LA Girl foundation lightening stuff. So I'm hoping that I was able to mix a foundation shade that will work. We will see. Looks great so far, actually. I think, you know, the undertone of this foundation was right. It was definitely a cool toned shade, but just a little too deep. This looks great so far. Obviously can't totally credit Essence right now, even though the video is about Essence, but I do like the formula of their foundation, and I didn't really have to mix too much of this white in, just enough to lighten it a bit. So looks really pretty. So I have their All About Brows quad, and I also have several of these Make Me brow mascaras. These are like, I think $3. Just using the darkest shade in here. I also have not tried their I Heart Stage shadow base, so we're gonna give this a go today. Prime the eyes. I have my All About Matte Fixing Powder. This is one of the Essence products that I am using daily. I love it. This one's waterproof. I don't know that I've ever really been put in a situation where I've had to see how that holds up, but they have a non-waterproof version as well. I just grabbed a couple palettes from Essence. I have the Bonjour Montreal, specifically because this one had the highest ratings on, I think, Ulta. But I just grabbed this at my local grocery store. And the I'm With The Band, this was $5 directly from Essence. I think that it was on sale. It might have been like 10 otherwise, but there's a lot of shades in here, so I chose this one because it was a little bit more colorful in case I wanted to have a pop of color. Most of these like travel series ones seemed to be fairly neutral. This video is more about how these products perform and less about, you know, suiting my personal style per se. So I'm gonna just start with this one and use this one for like the base and transition shade. Probably end up just kind of doing a smoky eye and throwing on a little bit of color with this one. Starting with the lightest shade in here on my fluffy Wayne Goss number 16 brush. So far, like, super minimal kickback in the pan. I don't know if that's something that you really care about. I don't that much. Sometimes, you know, you touch a shadow and it like crumbles. That's when I care, but a tiny bit of kickback is fine. So maybe kind of a warmer look today. This shade is called Don't Speak. These all have names that are like pop songs from, you know, maybe the early 2000s, late 90s. Oh no, Purple Rain is in here. It's just music themed. This is a BH Cosmetics number 5 brush. It's just kind of a fluffy crease brush. Excuse me. Where's the pigment? Since I don't have makeup on the lower half of my face, I'm not going to knock off the brush for this, just because I want to try and get this color. Maybe it all flew off the brush. So that's a little bit better. I'm gonna see if this is buildable, because right now, as you can see, it's very sheer. So I'm going to try a denser brush, because getting color payoff out of this is very difficult so far. This is an E54 medium sweeper brush. I'm just gonna do that on the outer portion of the eye. I was able to get a little bit more pigment by using a denser brush, but this shade sucks. Not a fan. So maybe there's other good shades in this palette. I'm not feeling too stoked so far. It was $5, so whatever. Maybe this would be a fun palette for like a kid. I don't know. I'm gonna grab the Bonjour Montreal palette and go in with this nice reddish shade. This is a Wayne Goss number 18 brush. Basically right now I'm just trying to add a little bit of depth to the crease area. Going back to that very first light shade that we used, just a touch on the brush to soften out the edges here. So far, not the most pigmented shadows, but they're blending easily. All right, in the Bonjour Montreal palette, I'm going to grab this bronzy shade and pop this on the lid. I'm just gonna start off with my finger. I want to give that a little bit more of a foiled look, so I'm grabbing a medium sweeper Sigma brush and some of the You Better Work spray from Essence. And there's a shade in the upper corner of this that looks a little bit, it's kind of a luminous potential topper shade, so I'm going to try to put that just right in the middle of the lid to liven this up a bit. Okay, that did not do what I thought it was going to do. Meh. Taking the darkest shade in the Bonjour Montreal palette. This is just a small fluffy crease brush. It's BH Cosmetics number 8. And I'm just gonna smoke out the edges of this. When I do this, I like to relax my eyes so that I can see, you know, what it's gonna look like when I'm not emoting, because hooded eye things. But yeah, so I'll relax this and try to make sure it has a roundness. So far, I think the best thing about these shadows is that they blend really, really easily. You can soften them out really easily with minimal work. This darker shade has a nice color payoff. You know, I don't want to say anything overtly bad about this so far, because what I'm thinking in my head is this color story is a little bit uninspiring, and there's only so much that I can do with that as the artist. But we're gonna keep going. I am going to go back to the medium sweeper brush and the reddish shade that's in here and try to bring back a little of the red tone right here. So before I move on to the under eye, I want to say there's something kind of like, I don't know how to describe this. Maybe as I'm blending, like some of the red shade is kind of like dusting off and collecting around the edges, which does not look cute at all. But very easy to fix. This is just a dry microfiber makeup remover cloth. I am gonna throw in just a little bit more primer right here that I may have wiped off. And we're just gonna move on to the next phase of the face. I have this little Tati Beauty Blendiful. Okay, so the Essence products all seem to be scented in one way or another. This smells really nice. Do I think it needs to have a fragrance? No, but it's really soft. It's not baby powdery, but like lightly floral perhaps. So if that's gonna bother you in any way, just don't go for this. The foundation had a scent as well. This works better than I thought it would, shade-wise. I like the finish on this. It is matte. It's not like powdery or overly drying. So first I'm going to throw on an inner corner color and a brow bone color. I'm hopping back over to this palette even though I was not impressed so far. The Teen Spirit shade looks really pretty. It's just kind of like a shimmery champagne. V15 by BH Cosmetics. And a medium sweeper brush yet again. This time I'm going to spray it for the brow bone. I'm really feeling like I want there to be just a bit more color in this. I'm going to try this shade called Say My Name. It's a little bit like a matte plum. Actually, maybe it's satin. I can't really tell. It's plummy looking, and I'm gonna throw that on under here and just kind of smoke it out a bit before I put on eyeliner, which I will blend into it. And I'm gonna go with the medium sweeper brush again. Okay, this is like way more pigmented than that red shade was earlier. Definitely pleased. I will obviously be blending this out. And while I have this palette open, I'm going back over to Teen Spirit, and I'm just gonna bring this over a bit. So I'm going to use a diffused crease brush by Sigma Beauty and grab just a touch of this lighter shade to blend out around the edges of this. All the way around, basically until the tail of the brow. Circular motions. I have the Essence Extreme Lasting Eye Pencil in the shade But First Espresso. I always like to take the liner and just kind of draw on the back of my hand a bit to get it warmed up first. So far, this is super creamy. I love a creamy texture when it comes to an eyeliner. You know, the drier stuff obviously kind of drags. It just doesn't feel good to put on. Yeah, it glides right on. I like the texture of this a lot. A lot of color payoff right out the gate. Not mad. This is my favorite Exact Blend brush by Sigma. I always use this to just kind of like smudge out my liner. Before I throw on mascara, I'm just going to jump back over here to this dark shade in the Bonjour Montreal palette and just touch up the outer edges. I feel like I blended away a little of it earlier, so I just want to deepen that up just a touch. Alright, now it's time for mascara. I have the Essence Volume Booster Lash Primer and the Lash Princess Mascara, which is a huge hit on the internets. This is one of the top rated mascaras on Ulta's website. I haven't even tried it yet, so I'm pretty excited. I like the design of the tube. The embellishments up here are like rubbery, so it gives you a nice little something to grip, so it's like form and function, which is cute. I never use lash primer. I can't say that I totally understand how necessary it is, but you know, I'm gonna try it just because I have it, so. This says it's infused with acai oil and mango butter. Yum. I'm gonna take a clean spoolie and just brush through that to separate the lashes. We're just gonna dive right into this Lash Princess mascara. So far, I can say I love the shape of the applicator. This is my favorite applicator shape, for sure. I gotta say, my left eye, the lashes are like hyper curled, and I have heard that you can buy these that like have heat, and I've read some things about how to fix that. I don't know, it doesn't happen all the time either. Like some days they're just like so curly that I can't really put mascara on them because the mascara will immediately get all over my eyelid, and I usually just kind of like softly squish them. It might be a combination of the primer and the mascara. Either way, this duo, like, these look really pretty. Definitely emphasized my lashes a lot. I don't have the most luxurious lashes, so looks good. I'm gonna have to try with and without primer later on just to see how much this helped, or if this is just that good of a mascara. I've heard a million rave reviews about it, but yeah, it looks really gorgeous. A little trick that I learned recently for when you get stamping or transfer from mascara is to let it dry completely and then take a clean spoolie and then just like gently brush at it, and it just like flakes right off. Alright, I've got foundation on. I did put a little concealer on the center of my nose and a touch on my chin as a bit of a highlight. So next I'm going to move on to bronzer. This is the matte bronzing palette. You got 4 shades in here. This is their only bronzer palette. It's not a super complex shade range. I tend to only use these 2. They're all like a little bit on the warm side, so I've never really used this for like contouring, but I am going to try today to like lightly contour the sides of my nose with it, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, I'm going to take the lightest shade and just add a little bronzer here, here.
Oof, my mustache is tickling me.
The bronzer brush that I'm using is a mystery. I've used it for so long that the branding has just faded away from it. Bringing a little warmth to the face. I'm just going to take the next shade over on an angled, fluffy brush and just give the sides of my nose a bit of dimension. going to use that fixing powder on a V5 BH Cosmetics blending brush and just soften this up. The blush that I grabbed from Essence is called Beloved. This is a BH Cosmetics number 3 brush. The thing that I love about this stuff, I use it for a lot of different reasons. I will like lightly set under my eyes with it. It's great for blending and softening things. It's not like an eraser, but it just blurs things out a bit. I use it a lot. So this situation, I'm just going to give you a little cheesy grin and soften out the edges so that it's a little bit more rounded. I really like this color, like a lot. So pretty. So one of the things that I did not grab, although they do have a highlighter quad that looks really pretty, I just ran out of money, to be frank. So I am just going to use this palette, and there's a shade called Enter Sandman that I think will make a perfect highlight shade. This is a Studio Pro 18 BH Cosmetics brush. So always remember when you're using makeup, a lot of products, unless very specifically stated otherwise, can be used all over your face. So there's blushes that make great lip colors, there's lip colors that make great blushes, there's cream products that you can literally put anywhere. Eyeshadows can make great highlighters. In fact, a lot of eyeshadows make great highlighters. So don't ever feel like you specifically have to stick to a product that says highlighter. So I'm just going to spray a setting spray on my face before I put on the lips, and then put on a touch more highlighter while there's some dewiness for it to cling on to. I grabbed a tube of the Mad About Matte lipstick, and this shade is called Mad Matters. So, you know, normally I would line my lips, but I did not get a lip liner from them, and I'm just kind of trying to stick to only using Essence products for the most part. Definitely a lot of color payoff on this. Nice texture. It's very velvety, pretty. I like the doe foot. It's kind of hourglass shaped. Just going to touch up the edges with a lip brush. Now I'm grabbing that Bonjour Montreal palette once more for this sort of metallic red, and we're just going to try that as a topper for the lip color. So off camera, I'm just going to fix up my hair a little bit, and then we'll get to chatting about this finished look. Okay, so it has been a few hours. I am not going to have time today to do like a long wear test. So I just wanted to wrap this up with some final thoughts, starting with the products from Essence that I highly recommend, and ending with the products that I really think you could probably live without. So because you probably see it in all of my videos, the All About Matte Fixing Powder, I am just a huge fan of this. I love it. It's awesome. The Lash Princess Mascara. I knew I was gonna like this because I've literally seen thousands of positive reviews about it, and at some point you just know something is gonna be good. Definitely recommend you grab this. It's like $3.99. Stunning mascara. And lastly, of the products that I think you've just gotta get, the Camouflage Concealer. This is the matte one. This is really good. I think the shade range was shit. Gosh, it's hard to suggest something like this. So if you have your shade in this, great. If not, I'm sorry. And Essence Cosmetics really could work on that. but this didn't settle into the cracks under my eyes, and pretty much everything does. I didn't necessarily go on with a super light hand. I put on just as much concealer as I normally would, and it looks beautiful. Like, for price points, the eyeshadows were fine. I think this look is beautiful. I definitely can't complain about what I ended up with. The red in this was like one of the worst eyeshadows I've ever worked with. However, all the other shades I used from here were just fine. So I don't want to write off the whole palette. It was $5. The Bonjour Montreal, boring color story to me, but I don't want that to get in the way of me saying it performed pretty well. The darkest shade in here kind of wanted to just like blend away if you blended it too much. So the trick was like focusing on where I wanted the depth and blending only the edges, because the more you blended it, it just kind of wanted to disappear. Anyhow, there is my final thoughts. I feel like that was a little bit rambly, and hopefully you were able to take away something from this instead of, you know, it might have just been really vague. And, you know, maybe that's fine too, because sometimes life is a little vague. Oh my God, am I about to have an existential, oh, I have to go. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I'm going to be back Tuesday with a St. Patrick's Day green color magic look. And yeah, thanks again. Time to meet my dog because he's traipsing up and down the stairs, causing a riot. Little Mr. barking on the porch today. This is Paisley. He is a big source of emotional support for me, and I love him very much. He does not appear to be thrilled about being on camera, but I don't care. I love him. Paisley, are you a good boy? He's not.
Goodbye.